You found Stryker of Enyo, and the following is an excerpt from my main video, I Play Every Xbox Live Arcade Game Part 2, which is a massive 3.5-hour experience that I encourage you to check out if you like what you see here. This version was rendered at nearly 2 to 3 times the bitrate of the original. Dead Space Ignition, co-developed by Visceral Games and Sumo Digital. Dead Space Ignition was originally a digital-only game that was provided for free for those that pre-ordered Dead Space 2. Later, it was released on digital storefronts for $5 US. I was excited to play this game since all I had to do was put down $5 on the new Dead Space and it was mine. But man, was I disappointed once I got it downloaded. You got a somewhat interactive animated comic story with gameplay consisting of 3 different hacking minigames, and that's it. The game takes place on the Sprawl just before the events of Dead Space 2. You guide a boring engineer around as you try to survive the horrific necromorph attack. Oh, and newsflash, the Sprawl was overrun by the time we see it in Dead Space 2, so nobody really made it out alive aside from a few key characters. This could have been a nice little look into seeing the Sprawl before the chaos happened. You know, people everywhere, going to work, shops open, kids running around to school, but they never really convey this very well. At certain times, you will have choices to make which will affect where you end up going next. You will often be alternating between playing one of the 3 hacking minigames. 2 of the 3 hacking minigames aren't bad, but they repeat so much that you will tire of them after a couple hours. The game has 4 different endings, which means the story breaks off into 4 different paths, but it's really not that varied. The story never gives us any characters to really care about, and the writing never has any witty banter or clever dialogue whatsoever.
Gotcha. You see, that wasn't so hard.
That's what she said.
That is the first line of dialogue for this main character. Well, I'm glad That's What She Said survived 500 years into the future. Who wrote this garbage? And now we get to the obvious problem, the horrendous art style and the general lack of detail. I've seen some motion comics before, and we've seen several cinematics from XBLA games that are on a budget with varying quality, but this is a new level of bland. Just look at these designs. They must have been in a hurry to get this game done. Even worse is the poor attempt at trying to animate these stills. They do this weird warping technique to like slightly adjust body parts and the characters to kind of give the illusion of movement. It looks like they didn't have the money to hire an actual artist to properly animate the characters, so they just had interns smudging lines and faces around. It looks bad. Some of the worst so-called animation that I've ever seen. Dead Space Ignition is not a very fun experience. If the whole story added something to the lore, or was delivered with a better presentation, then it might be worth a look. Small spoiler for this game, which I don't recommend, but the whole story leads to the fact that you play as the engineer that ultimately frees Isaac Clarke at the beginning of Dead Space 2.
Isaac.
Then he dies within 40 seconds. That's the big payoff. That's it.
Alright, I know you're confused right now. I can explain everything, but you gotta trust me, okay? Listen, you're in terrible danger.
He's already dead? This is ludicrous.
All right, who called for ludicrous?
No, I meant the fact that you play as a boring and useless engineer with no redeeming personality or qualities, only to be killed off in the next game. That is ludicrous.
Oh, you don't tell Ludacris what's ludicrous. Ludacris tells you what's ludicrous. Oh, that is ludicrous.
I know, right? All that buildup and he's on screen for only a few minutes. Thanks, Luda.
Guess I can go.
Don't you mean roll out?
No, I don't.
Oh, well, that seemed uneventful. 2 out of 10. The body morphing animation is irritating to watch. The Metacritic is one of the worst that we've seen so far at a 35 and a 36 on consoles. And the 4.4 user score isn't much better. Official Xbox Magazine gave it a 3.5, citing god-awful dialogue and voice acting. Just stay away from this one. Would you like to know more? Did you like the video you just watched? Then leave a comment, even give me a like. Then head to my channel for more. I got several series like Rage Quit 2, How the F Did I Die, and I even have a playlist for everything related to the I Play Every Xbox Live arcade game. You'll find all the parts, including higher bitrate versions of certain segments and eventually audio commentaries. If you want to see what I'm currently working on, then check the community tab on my channel, it's just right here. This is where I give occasional updates on what I'm working on and mention what's coming up next. If you want to watch the main video where this segment came from, then it should be showing up right about now, on the upper left side of the screen. The playlist for the entire series will be on the lower right. Thank you for any watch time that you can spare. The response on the series has been very positive, so thank you all.